Yeah.
So, I have my phone. What am I doing? I'm calling the Berlin Cultural Council meeting into session at 7:36. This is an open session to the public, and all the public meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and voice will be recorded during the meeting.
So I'm going to, the first item I put on the agenda is, I've been reappointed based on the fact of the safe harbor provision to keep 5 members, and Eloise said that that should go into the meeting minutes, so it needed to go into the agenda. So I'm back, and hopefully by the end of the term we can get someone to replace me and someone to replace you, and then hopefully, well, does your husband want to join again for a year? Well,
No, he says it's time for me to be done.
okay. So next we've got minutes. So,
So does anybody have any questions about the minutes? That's what I kind of say.
yeah.
Do we have to vote?
Yeah.
We want you back?
Oh, no,
Okay.
that's done. No, we're on to the minutes now.
So the minutes from the last meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see them posted.
I think I sent them like shortly after our last meeting.
Oh, I think you're right. You're absolutely right.
I can probably find them if you want me to.
Nope, I already did. Nope, I'm on the page. It was on the 22nd. I see them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was trying to get my I's dotted and T's crossed before being done for a while.
It's okay. I move to accept the minutes from the August 22nd meeting.
Second it?
Okay. So now you call the vote, and
All right. And they're accepted.
no,
Oh.
you ask for votes on it. We have to vote on accepting the minutes.
Oh God. Well, they moved.
So
I apologize.
the motion has been made and seconded. So once that happens, then you call the vote.
Okay. Then I'm calling a vote to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay. So
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Alrighty.
Okay. So now the treasurer's report.
I'm sorry, I just stuffed a piece of candy in my mouth. I didn't write up a formal paper because I still have no formal paperwork from the accountant. My understanding is they still haven't closed the June books yet. And so there has been no justification that she can send me like she usually
Is
does.
that still a software issue? Is that? or-
I still haven't seen anything, so I'm still assuming that
Okay.
they haven't solved the problem. I can understand it's gotta be incredibly frustrating. But I can tell you what I know, which is we have paid off, from last year's grants, everyone but Painting with Patty, who I believe there was going to be a request for a reschedule of her. I told Judy, Judy said, could it be, can it be pushed ahead? There was a scheduling problem. And I told her that she needed to email you at the Cultural Council, email and request that. And I said that if that happened, then we'd be able to vote on it to make it official, but the request had to be made. So you want me to wait on that while you're looking?
I don't think we have. I don't think I.
Okay, I wonder if she forgot, because it was at the same time that I was speaking with her about the program that she was proposing that she wasn't sure fit the criteria.
Yeah.
So I wonder if she forgot about that, because I told her, I said, yeah, it would be okay, but it has to be by
Well-
rule, she had to requests that we vote on it.
Well, is it just being moved within the same calendar year though? Because unless the grant specified a specific date, it
There
was
was
not.
a specific
Okay,
date, because
okay.
I was looking through the paperwork to see who still hadn't been paid, and there was a date. I'm sure I can find it. There was a date involved. Let me find this better. I usually write it in here.
Yeah, I think the only emails that we've got that aren't junk are related to new grants for this cycle versus anything.
It was supposed to be October 3rd,
Okay.
and so that was the advice I gave her, so maybe she just needs a nudge on that.
Yeah.
And,
Funny thing is, I saw her today.
to tell us the new date. I'm sure she just forgot.
Yeah,
And it's no big deal, it's just a matter to make it official, we
yeah.
had to vote on it. So that hasn't been paid, which was $500. I haven't gotten anything from the Fitchburg Art Museum yet, or the Angora wool spinning and foraging, which is a total of $1,050. Everything else has been paid,
Okay.
so I'm just waiting on
The
those.
Angora, well, that was a library adjacent one?
I'm pretty sure it was, and it was a series of events. She was doing something with this Angora wool spinning, and then there was a foraging part to it.
Okay.
And that, it was supposed to be over a period of time. Let me look it up and tell you what.
Well, I was just thinking that next time I'm at the library, I can ask Victoria if she
I
can.
feel like there was
nudge
one that
them.
should have gotten their paperwork in. It was supposed to be done the end of July. So I don't know if they paid her and then somebody had to, from the library, had to ask for reimbursement, because sometimes things get paid through the Friends of the Library and then
Yeah.
they seek reimbursement. So, and I will double check with June just to make sure that, I'm very good about putting the stuff in the book and making a copy of everything
Yeah.
I submit, but hey, every once in a while, but there was nothing in the book when I double checked. So those are the three. Then I did do the report that needed to go into the Smart Simple program to justify all the money that we've spent and also to show what we've encumbered, which
Yeah.
would be this stuff. And that was done
What did you
on-
call it? Sorry.
It's called, sorry about that, it is called,
Smart something, did you say?
yeah, the program is Smart Simple, but the actual paperwork that I had to fill out is called the Local Cultural Council Account Form. And it's just, they need a justification from us as to the fact as to whether we've paid out what we're supposed to pay out and all that kind of stuff. And then it rolls it over into a program that tells us exactly what we have for granting this year. So there's two parts to it. So it's all done, and the town accountant has to fill out a certain amount of paperwork as well, and then I work off of that.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, trying to justify all that. So that's what we got going on. We have $7,200 to grant this year, $1,500 from the FY '25 money from Berlin, and then 5,700
Yeah.
from MCC. So we're looking at $7,200.
And if my math is correct, we got asked for a little bit less money this year than last year.
We got less money this year?
No, the
Oh.
request to us add up to a little less this year than last year.
Oh, the total,
Yeah.
it's still way over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then because I have the keys to the mailboxes, we got 2 letters. One from 19 Carter thanking us for contributing because they were paid. And then the Healing Garden also sent us a thank you because their payment went through. So I'll just put that in the file.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on all that stuff?
Did you say that, so we have 5,700 that we got allotted, and then the other piece of that was from where?
From Berlin, from when they,
We have a line item in the town budget each
Okay.
year for $1,500.
yeah. So we throw that together, and that's what we grant. The only complication with that is that the Berlin money, because our grants go out, already well into the fiscal year,
Mm-hmm.
that we have to make sure that we pay when we send the letters to the people who we are gonna pay out of the Berlin money, that they know that their whatever they're doing has to happen before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
So I worked that out, and that's just an FYI, you don't have to put that in the,
Okay.
in the minutes.
Thank you.
And it's usually not a problem except this past year when
Yeah, we
the
always work it
special
out.
town meeting got something moved and.
Oh, the other question I had was, do you know anything about Davis Bates rescheduling?
I
If you
don't think so.
talk to Victoria in the next couple days when you ask her about that other program, do you wanna ask her about that? Cause he said he was gonna do it, try to schedule it in the fall.
Yeah, so the last email have from him is from June. I think about rescheduling.
Yeah, just ask Victoria if you, cause
Yeah.
it was the library that sponsored it, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, the grant was, him himself, but yeah, I think it was a library program. Okay. Well, guess that would bring us to the meat and potatoes of the evening.
No,
Okay, so you guys just have to accept the treasurer's report.
Oh,
right.
yeah. I move we accept the treasurer's report.
I second that.
Thank you.
All right. Now do a vote.
Yes.
Okay. So, all in favor of accepting the treasurer's report?
Aye.
All opposed? Alrighty, we're gonna accept the treasurer's report.
Yeah, and you are allowed to vote.
Oh, okay.
You don't have to, but you are allowed.
I'll say that.
I also looked up, you can make motions as the chair, it's just a little awkward,
I feel like that would be a little awkward. Alright,
but, okay, so,
now we'd be getting to the rates.
yeah, so on my spreadsheet, I just have them in the order that they're in on the panel book, which is alphabetized by applicant, is that how other people's notes are?
Mine is right from,
Yeah,
Yeah, right from the book.
okay. So, yeah, so I have down that the total requested amount is 14,234, though there were a couple ones where there seemed to be some errors in the numbers. But, so, yeah. So,
So basically, it's double what we had to grant.
Yeah, yeah. So. The art space in Maynard. I personally thought that was a little distant to really fit our community.
I also gave that a no, just because it wasn't close in our town, or didn't have anybody in our town, sort of.
Yeah,
Yeah, because the target population was artists, and even though we have some fabulous artists in this town, again, being in Maynard, it was a problem. I agree. And then my other problem with it was that the salaries going to the artists or whoever was speaking was $1,000, and the salaries and administrative fees was $2,200. So who are we really serving with grant money?
Yeah.
that's a good notice.
So I vote, or I move that we, unless there's any further discussion, that we say no to this one.
I agree.
Second?
I second that.
All right. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so. Okay, so the Assabet Valley Masters Singers, which we get this request every year, and I don't know how many people in town attend, but I never feel like they really put an effort into their application with us. They talk about, that they give complimentary, tickets to senior centers. We don't actually have a senior center in Berlin. 19 Carter, I do believe, is generally who gets those tickets, but nevertheless, if they can't know who they're dealing with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they arrive in our mailbox, and then I
Okay.
bring them over to 19 Carter, and we've always received 2 tickets for each concert.
Yeah.
And so it serves 2 people in our community.
Yeah.
I mean, other people can go, they just would have to pay for the programs that are in, Westboro, Northborough, Shrewsbury. They list it out in here.
I also gave it a no. I didn't think it would serve our community.
Northborough, Shrewsbury, Southborough, Westboro, so surrounding communities, but not real,
Yeah.
not all of them real close.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fairly close. I mean, but with all the music that we do have in town or more directly adjacent.
Yeah, that's a good point. What's accessible right here in town?
Yeah. So,
So we'll make a motion?
I move that we do not award the Assabet Valley Masters Singers at this time.
And I second it.
All right. And all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay. So that brings us to the beginning of the library programs that they are directly asking for money on versus through the artists. So the first one is the virtual reality games, which I thought was well, I guess it's not all VR, but it's, you know, video game stuff, which I thought was kind of neat. It's kind very different from the library programs that usually get offered, and I think particularly in the 21st century, this is something that will appeal to large swaths of people.
Yeah, and they did include that it wasn't just for kids, that they invited all ages to.
Yes, this program is recommended for ages 8 to 100.
Don't know how many 100-year-olds will be
Yeah.
on a Nintendo or Xbox, but you
Their
know.
reaction
Well,
time
I
would
mean,
be a
the
little
real
long.
problem is what happens when you turn 101. Like,
They're gonna deny you. Very
sorry,
funny,
we don't
MJ.
recommend this for your health anymore, you know.
Very bad for your reaction time.
Kind of like, I think Lego is recommended up to age 99 or something like
Yeah.
that. But I suppose they have to make that mark somewhere else. If you just say like 8 and up, you know, people might not think you really mean it. So,
That's the one, I also gave that a yes.
Yeah. I felt it was something really different than what they've
Yeah.
done at the library.
Yeah.
And should attract yet another group of people
Yeah.
who would be interested.
They definitely know how to make a sales pitch. That's the.
Yeah, well, I felt the programs they had this time around, that it overall just seems like it really a diverse selection of things, and without not meaning to cast any, you know, aspersions on any past people running the library or the children's program, but I think this reflects well on Victoria and what's her name, Hadley, the new children's librarian. Then I move that we fund this program.
I second that.
All right. And all in favor of funding the VR program at the library?
Aye.
Aye.
So, the next one is it's entitled No Irish Need Apply, A History of the Irish in Boston, which will be at the 1870 Town Hall. So I thought this was another one that's something that good. I mean, part of me feels like growing up that we would all kind of know about the history of the Irish in America, but I think that our education system is not necessarily providing that. So I think this is something that might be interesting both for, you know, history buffs to learn more, or maybe some people who don't know as much about it.
Well, I think it's timely in the fact that immigration is such a hot item or hot topic in our society right now, and to look at a different group of immigrants who came to the country and had to deal with what they dealt with.
Yeah.
And plus, I think in the whole panel book, I don't think there's any other historical, usually the seniors do some kind of program involving historical interpretation, and I don't remember seeing any others.
Yeah.
So I
don't-
think it's a good, you know, it reaches another audience for us.
Yeah, and I think I want to say that I was reading somewhere that the library, their survey of what people wanted for programs had indicated to them that there was a greater desire for historical related programming.
I mean, that makes sense. This town does have an old style to it.
Yeah,
And it's in March, right near
yeah,
St. Patrick's Day,
yeah.
Oh.
which I thought was very excellent.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a time that was particularly chosen.
Yes, maybe. So I like that. I move that we fund the Irish program at the library.
I second it.
All right.
Is it normal or not normal? Is it, I think all of the library programs, I thought, like what you said, were all excellent. And I thought that there was such a wide range for different, is it, does the council typically fund everything that, not everything, but is that?
Well, I would say generally speaking, the ones that the library itself has requested tend to get funding. We do,
In whole or in part, right?
yeah,
You don't-
whereas ones that the library is, giving their support to, but are not directly asking for themselves, that we tend to be a little
Mm.
more critical of
Yep.
those for a variety of reasons.
Just, I'm only asking because I gave them all Ys, because I thought that
Yeah,
I liked all the different angles that they had.
And the other part of it is when we start looking at the money, we try to equally fund the different groups in
Mhm.
town so
Mhm.
that it's not all going to the library, that we give to
yeah,
The
19
seniors,
Carter, we
yeah.
give to the seniors, we give to the,
school,
yeah, down the school, thank you.
Yep.
yeah. And also, speaking of like, one of the ones I know we rejected last time, that was one that I think the library was supporting, but then put out, it was one that had when asked, what do we do if you don't get the full amount of money? Usually the library ones are like, the Friends of the Library will pitch in, and this one was like, no, we need all the money. It's like, okay, you don't have a plan B. So
Yeah.
that was, at least for my mind, well,
Yeah, I
that
remember that.
particular one
Yeah, they just said.
went on the chopping block. But
They
usually
wouldn't do it.
with the ones that the library is more involved in. I mean, I think that whether they're the ones who put in the application itself doesn't necessarily speak to how much they're invested in. It depends on, I think, which performers and such are more attuned to dealing with the system. But generally speaking, I think the ones that the library is more involved in, they tend to do a better job of having
Yep.
plans in place because, they know that we've got a limited budget and,
Yeah.
that not everything is likely to get fully funded. Okay.
Like that the next one is the graveyard one? which-
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, we
Oh, sorry.
yeah, no, you're
Did we
good.
not do that? I thought we
Not
did.
just yet, that was,
Sorry.
of course. So, all who
The new
agree-
person just taking over and like
Yeah.
running the show.
So yes, so he asked, so I,
yeah, so all who approve of funding the No Irish Need Apply.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
okay.
Now can we talk about the graveyard?
And that's a I put this all together and it's not jiving.
Mine didn't either. So
It's not,
It's a little
'cause
out of order.
675 is the, in the book, it's not in the same order, because the next one coming after
Okay.
Irish in Boston in the panel book is
Yeah, so I've got
something different.
the cooperative games facilitator is
Yeah.
what I have down
Yeah,
next.
249. $249 is the next one in the
Oh,
panel
yeah,
book.
that is, mine wasn't in the same order. That's weird.
Wonderful. Is that up, or you just have your notes up?
I have both things.
I'm just curious.
So number 4 for me is the Irish one.
Okay, so I think what you did is you were looking at the grants individually.
Yep.
Okay, so what we did was we generated the panel book PDF and just got,
Oh, went down.
so it may have put them in slightly different
Different order.
order.
Alright, that's fine. I'm figuring it out. Sorry.
Well,
You guys do it in your order, I'll adjust.
So the next one in the book is the cooperative games.
Yes. Yeah, so I thought that was another one that was, something, a little different. In a good way,
It's interesting that you went to 249 though, instead of 250.
Yeah, some people are around things and others get, I do wonder, since that's not itemized, what generated the 249. That's also a case sometimes where we're
We give them the extra dollar because it
Yeah.
messes up our money.
yeah, or alternately, it's like, okay, well, we're rounding you down.
Last year, we were feeling generous and we rounded up.
Yeah. Well, that could happen. But not.
So how do people feel about this one?
I mean, it looked like a free story. It was, well, not story, but games for
Yeah.
young children.
Yeah. Well, it gave me, a hint of a vibe of like, it either, low role playing or something like, what kind of, I'm not exactly sure.
Well, it sounds like it's based in Project Adventure,
Yeah.
but there's storytelling involved,
Yeah.
solving problems, but Project Adventure was always about solving a problem as a group. So,
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, I don't think.
we used to teach it in phys ed.
Then I definitely don't know.
Well,
Not
It's
anything
great
about
stuff.
phys ed, but I just don't recall anything
And not all schools.
interesting.
Yeah, and
about
not all
it.
schools did it. It was a, it was a way of teaching kids to think out of the box and solve problems. So, it kind of sounds like he's combining storytelling with having a problem that they need to solve.
Yeah, which is what kind of gives me the role play vibe of that.
Yeah. Yeah, the role playing, and it'd be through playing, which always makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, also means, whatever problem it is made up, and whether you solve it or not, it's not a problem after, the thing's over. Hopefully.
yeah, I was about to say hopefully.
So are we feeling good about this one?
Yep.
That it
Definitely.
fits?
Yeah.
So I move we support this program.
And I'll second.
All right. All who agree with funding the Todd Goodwin Storytelling Group?
Aye.
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 Okay. Now we're to the graveyard.
Alright.
Welcome to the graveyard.
I thought it was interesting, and I think it, because it ties in local history, I thought it was a really great.
Yeah. I graveyards were always something that I had interest in. I suppose I haven't spent much time in them anymore, but they're interesting to see the development of how the traditions and art of it have changed. They're, good places for a walk or a picnic. Also kind of amused me when I was undergrad, both the professor we had teaching geography at Castleton when I started, and then the one who replaced him were both had graveyards as one of their kind of, interests and such. I think Scott had actually, at his previous place, had like done classes around that, and it was always kind of interesting to me that I ended up in college having a lot of professors whose their interest within their field really jived with my interest within those fields. So, I don't know, it just always stuck out at me as an interesting historical and geographic study subject.
Well, and I like it that they'll personalize it to the town.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we got graveyards. I mean, I suppose every town really does, but
We have 2 fine ones.
yes. And a really old one as well.
Yeah. There's 3, right?
Yeah, yeah,
A historical one, the one on Pleasant Street, and then the one, the north, is it
Yeah.
called North Cemetery out near Bolton?
yeah, something like that.
Hmm. Suppose I was missing one.
Yeah, it's like a newer
Yeah.
cemetery.
Yeah, I don't think this
It's tucked
started
away.
until like the 70s or
Yeah,
something
it's
very
tucked
out
away
there.
in a really very
Yeah,
hidden area. I forget what road it's on. If you go
yeah,
out.
it's on Highland.
Yeah, if you go out Highland, you keep
Yeah.
going out Highland, just
Yeah.
before you hit Bolton, it's on the left.
It's right past the horse farm.
Oh, yes, now I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. But it's also set back from the road too,
Yeah,
so
so
that's.
you don't really see it, and it's like on a curve, isn't it, kind of? You're coming around, I used to ride my
Yeah.
bike that way.
Yeah, I think it's, I want to say it's before a curve, but yeah. But yeah, so that one probably might be a little less interesting to their presentation, but also reminds me, one of these days I need to, walk those graveyards, because I can't remember, I used to when I was younger walking graveyards, but I don't think I ever did in the ones in Berlin. It's like, well,
Typical, right there in your front yard, and you.
yeah, well, it was, like when, so my parents weren't together, so like when I had, visitations with my dad, like, we sometimes, be visiting things, but, it wasn't Berlin or, none of my relatives are planted in any of, so it just was less of a reason to go, but that is something I should correct at some point.
So it sounds like we're interested in funding the Graveyard Girls.
Yes, I would say we are.
I move that we fund the Graveyard Girls.
I will second the funding of the Graveyard Girls.
So, all who agree with funding the graveyard trip?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and so the last one of the libraries sponsoring of their own ones is the zombie survival workshop. Yeah. So I did think this was interesting and topical. I did think the expense to it was a little high, I think, compared to the number of people it's gonna serve.
Yeah, 15.
Not the.
Do they
the-
have a backup if if it doesn't get fully funded?
We will request funds from our Friends of the Library group or cancel the event. I mean, I would anticipate were we to fund this, that we wouldn't, you know, chop off too much of the money. I just, you know, I just noted that, you know, a lot of the things draw in more people, whereas I think this one, in terms of the supplies that they need to do the workshop, that would limit participation. Not that necessarily that would be fewer than would want to. I mean, sometimes programs aren't, well, you know, sometimes you get lucky, people are available, sometimes, you know.
Well, this one talks about, they wanna schedule it on a half day.
Yeah,
That could draw a good audience.
yeah.
Yeah, but if are they limiting it? I know there was one that had a limit put on it. Are they just projecting 15 people, or are they limiting it to 15 people?
That's not the number of individuals that you predict. They're saying, they're predicting that 15 people.
Okay.
I don't think
Okay.
And
it's.
it also says the total number of youths.
Yeah, B15. This program's blah, 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 blah. Max 15 participants.
Oh, it does say that?
Oh, yeah, there it is. Fun for adults as well, max 15. Yeah, because they're bringing
Supplies for the kids.
supplies.
Yeah. Which, I mean, in a way is fair because, you know, were there to be a zombie apocalypse, there are only going to be so many supplies and some people are just going to get, you know, their brains eaten. Like,
If we can get a list of who's gonna participate in this, so we know who to go to, should there be an
An
apocalypse?
apocalypse. Maybe they can post it on the town website.
yeah, certified zombie apocalypse.
Here's your go-to.
Trained in survival.
Legitimately, I think that would be funny if at least like the library posted up on Facebook or something, like
Yeah.
a list of.
Okay, people to go to.
Who to go to? I think it's a cute idea. I think the $650 is pretty steep, but I would support it on some level. I think it's a cute idea. And I think that younger kids might be attracted to
Yeah.
the idea of it.
Well, I mean, I think it's something that, you know, you think about, okay, how much money are you spending on you know, supplies for such an event, like, but it does seem like it will impart some useful knowledge. I mean, how many people know, you know, first aid when they're, you know, kids and such, so I think, you know, a lot of people, even older, reach situations where, you know, they're injured, a friend's injured, someone's, and they're like, I don't know what, like, so I feel like this would be useful skills, you know, even without a zombie apocalypse, to deploy them in. There are other apocalypses we may be more likely to face that those skills could be useful for.
Shooting a crossbow is pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. You know, I will resist the urge to try to be one of those 15 people, in spite of the temptation of the crossbow. But I mean, if they can't come up with 15 people, I mean, that would just mean something wrong with society. Because crossbow, like.
So are we saying we wanna fund it in some way?
Yeah. So,
And move that we fund the Berlin Library's zombie survival program in part, on some level.
yeah, well, we don't need to decide the money of it tonight,
Yep.
so. So,
Yeah, we get to haggle over that the next meeting.
anyway, I second that motion.
Alright. All in favor of approving in part to the zombie survival workshop?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. now we have the Berlin Senior Citizens one, and I did want to note that we did get an email from Judy giving kind of their priority list in terms of what ones they care about more of the four. So yeah, dear members, I've submitted 4 grant applications and wish to establish a list prioritizing the programs we have submitted. The top one being the climate change with Harvey Leonard, then the Christmas with Tony, then the St. Patty's Day Fund, and the Pampered Chef at the bottom of the list.
Okay. And none of their programs are that expensive,
Yeah.
so
Well, nevertheless,
it's nice that she did the list.
yeah.
We should have had the library do that too.
Yeah.
So
Well,
they
we always
put
think
it
of that like what?
Afterwards.
Yeah.
Because they have such a big list.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, the first one is the climate change with Harvey Leonard.
It's such short money too, I feel like.
Yeah, I vote that we support this program, or I move that we support this program.
I second that.
Okay.
All right. And then all in favor of approving the climate change with Harvey Leonard?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So next is the St. Patty's Day Fund.
Was that at the same month? Was that in March?
Let's see.
As the other one?
That is March 16th.
Ooh,
At
And the other
19
one was
Carter.
the 13th.
partying in March in Berlin
Woo.
here, huh?
Yeah. Maybe we'll have, if we approve all the Irish-related programming, we may have to suggest that the select board just makes it, Irish Week in Berlin or something. Yeah.
Okay, so this one's music and Irish folklore. Where are they doing it? Are they doing it? in-
19 Carter.
Okay.
That's adorable, and again, I mean, 500 is a little steep, but I think supporting it in some way would be awesome.
Yeah. Well,
Projected 30 people, so.
yeah, well, that kind of programming tends to draw in people. I know 19 Carter frequently does, Irish music related things, which will get, frequent or large interest depending on the nature of the programming. So I think it is likely to be well attended.
It's 2 people. There's a musician and there's a storyteller.
Yeah.
It's cute. I think that'd be really cute.
So I move we support this program.
I second that.
All right. All in favor of supporting the St. Patrick Day's Afternoon Fun program?
Aye.
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 I was typing that number before everyone spoke. Okay, so the Pampered Chef.
Did we want to go? I know it's in order a specific way, but do we want to go over the Christmas one first because that's the way they had the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, we can. You're the chair.
I'm just suggesting it because in the email they
Yep.
said the Christmas one
Yep.
would be 3rd, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Or no, the St. Patty's Day was third, the Christmas one was second, so. But that's still the logic of doing that one next.
Is Tony the Christmas one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I read it and I don't know who he is, but it seems like they all would be very excited for him to come.
Yeah.
They've
Well,
had him a few times and they really like him and he's reasonably priced.
Yeah. I will note that I've a few times tried, he's advertised as having been with the Platters. I've never been able to actually find anything that,
About
that indicates
False
that's
advertising.
that to be the case, other than press related to the stuff he does now. But I also don't really feel it's my position to really, ask for a CV out of someone that they wanna have. And Lord knows, those old groups, they're, one person will have a license, someone else will have a license, the band will continue on long after everyone original has been dead, so may have been with that at some point. But yes, he does seem to be popular with them. They keep wanting to have him back.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
price is a little higher this time, I think, than it's
Well, I think-
normally been.
I think everyone's prices went a little higher. When I was making my spreadsheet of this day, or this morning, whenever I was making it, and comparing it with the spreadsheet I had for last year, the programs that were the same kind of ones seemed like they had gone up in price a little. We just got a little less in total because we don't have things like 1,700 for Haitian cuisine at universities, so. Have other expensive things though. But yeah, I have no problem with supporting this program.
Is that a motion?
It can be.
I
move-
second it if it is.
I move that we support the Christmas with Tony.
All right.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now that leads us to the Pampered Chef demonstration, which that was one that we had been contacted about whether that was something they could do or.
I called Boston and talked to, what is his name? Greg,
Greg, yeah.
who's in charge of our area, about it, because it was so different than anything that we ever have done or supported.
Mm.
And it's basically, I like to compare it to like a Tupperware type
Yeah.
thing. It's like
Yeah.
home party stuff. They come
Yeah.
in with, and do demonstrations and cooking
Yes.
demonstration, tool demonstrations, all that kind of stuff. So I said, we've never had somebody ask,
Yeah.
so we've never supported a program that someone was coming in to do this, but also coming in to make money. So he likened it to like a craft fair where some councils will support a craft fair, so people pay an entry fee and then they make money. So he said it's not out of, it's not out of the box at that point, he said, but you have to decide whether you can make a case for what it falls under. Is it humanities? Is it art? Is it science? He said there's a way that you can make that because it's cooking, so it's science. And so he went through that, and he says it's really, you can make a case for it or you can make a case against it. It's up to how we feel in terms of supporting it.
Yeah.
I mean, the price is not
Yeah,
bad at
I mean,
all.
the price is reasonable, and it does seem like it is more than simply what they would be doing if it were just their normal Pampered Chef Tupperware trying to sell a party. But that being said, in spite of the fact that it doesn't amount to a lot of money, I think
It's
it-
probably basically the rental fee, right? For 19, they're gonna do it at 19 Carter.
yeah, so I mean, it is just the rental and advertising, but I where we still are asked for like twice as much money as we have to give out, I personally feel that this is one where it is too far afield into what someone is doing commercially, that while we could support it, we have the ability to justify that. I think even only $125 could be better spent on programming that is more fully programming for the arts and whatever, and not,
Not for profit.
yeah.
I can go either way with it.
I gave it a no because I felt like it was too commercial, it didn't fall in with the mission of the cultural council.
So, that being said, do we have a they're not gonna come back at us, but I'm just wanting for my own education, do we say anything when we say no to this, there's like, or yes, well, no is what we're gonna, you have to come up with a reason that it doesn't, one of them is it doesn't fit our criteria.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be a statement in our criteria that says you can't do it. There's one that it's not enough public, do you remember what they are, MJ? I'm not pulling them all out well.
Yeah.
There's like 4 reasons why you reject.
Yeah, well, I was about to log into Smart Simple and then I realized I just got this new computer yesterday and I had to change this password and I'm trying to remember what I changed. this particular, I thought I had saved this password so I wouldn't have to remember it, but,
Here we are.
okay.
You're too young for that.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that in the old days, I just used the same password for everything, but then it's like, okay, you already used this password, you can't use it, or this one requires a symbol and this one doesn't, and so it's just remembering a lot of different things. I usually just base it around my address. If you want, break into my stuff.
Just put it right out there.
It's gonna be on you.
Oh, yeah, I'm in the pub.
Takes you forever. It's okay.
Don't know where I live.
Yeah. I just said at a meeting, I gave out all the codes to the locks at the garden. Like, oh yeah. Telling the chair, yeah, this is the new code, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh great, I just told everybody.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see.
Let's see if I can fit it.
I'm just wondering, I think to find out what the choices are, I'd actually have to click decline, and I don't know whether that would lock me in. Oh, we've already declined some, so hold on. What have we declined? We've declined the art space, so let's actually potentially decline that in the system and see what happens. Oh, no. Clicking decline, it's telling me submission failed, decision must be denied. I don't remember that as a thing. Mine. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong.
You would think on the page that they would tell you
I know I'm.
what the.
Hold on. It's been a while since I've had to play with this particular part of the system.
Yeah, because what happens is once we put in the denials, there is an email sent to the group that we've denied it.
Yeah.
We used to have to send a letter, but now it gets, I don't think we have to follow up with a letter on that. It's
Yeah.
only when we do the
Approvals.
approvals, that's when we have to write the letters, but, which is nice, it's less paperwork.
Yeah, I'll have to figure out what I'm doing wrong with the declines and maybe send an
Find it.
email if I can't figure that out tomorrow. Or-
I'm gonna see if
I was just trying to do a little Googling, I don't see it.
I'm trying to see if I can find the
Oh, I have another piece of bread. Okay, so the question is on what grounds would we be denying it anyhow, so.
Yeah, there were, if I remember correctly, there were 4 choices. It doesn't meet our criteria, not enough, it doesn't reach enough people, it was
Yeah.
too narrow. Maybe one of them was that they followed the procedure improperly, or something about them not
Yeah.
doing whatever they did.
You also mentioned when you said you called somebody in Boston, I believe.
Yeah,
You said that there's an argument to be made that it falls into science or whatever.
Mhm. That could
If-
be, yeah, one
if
of
it
them as
didn't,
well.
Yeah.
Good pickup on that, yes. It could very well be that.
yeah.
It's
Well,
it's
I-
making me crazy because I've done them so many times.
Well, isn't there a choice of something's just not an efficient use of our funds, or?
That'd be nice, right?
Yeah, isn't there one that we had too many applications that were similar programs, and so we had to choose the one, it's not this wordy, but we had to choose the one that best fit our criteria. I just found the book, so I'm gonna see if it has anything about the denials. Arts, United States, public benefit. We didn't hear back from the person from the school that we last year had to deny because of the paper application.
Yeah. No. That was one that I would have been inclined to reject because of what it was anyhow, so.
Can't find it.
Well, as usual, Smart Simple is neither smart nor
No,
simple.
it's not, it's way too much stuff. Well, I'm just gonna say we've spent too much time on $125 deciding how
Okay.
the person came back at us, cause they're not gonna come back at us.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move that we reject this application for Pampered Chef.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So next we have.
That'll drive me crazy, trying to find that information.
Yeah. So, next we have Meredith Charles and the Adult Improv Workshop.
Okay, so once again, I find myself in the quandary of the fact that we have funded this program for a really long time, as
Yeah.
long as I can remember.
Well, one of these years, there was one for kids and one for adults, and we rejected.
That was last year.
That was last year.
We rejected one of them.
Yeah, I think.
Still funded the adult one.
Yeah,
So, I guess I want to maybe pass over this one right now and look at others that we might not fund, only because it's something, do we wanna look at something new? I know that she must do a great job. I've never gone to it or seen how many people attend, but we have funded her for many, many, many years, the same
Okay.
program. So are there things that we'd like to see for just a change this year instead? Hope I'm making sense.
Yeah.
I just feel like we've said yes to so many programs,
yeah, yeah,
that are there other things we're gonna kick out that would help us be able to more fully fund other programs this year?
okay. I'm good with skipping it for now.
So I'm gonna move that we pass over this one and come back to it at the end after
Yeah.
we've seen what we can do with the other
Yeah.
things here.
I don't think that requires any formal motion. I think we could just.
Okay, we can just pass over.
Yeah. The agenda just says that we're talking about the grants. It says nothing about the order in which that is done, so.
Okay.
So, then the next one down is Gina Cranford and the sound immersion experience, which that was one that I noticed that it says that she, in one spot, that she's asking for, I think, hold on, I need to scroll down.
Free if it's fully funded, and then she'd start charging a, kind of
Yeah.
a stepped fee depending on, how much it was not funded.
Yeah.
Do you remember? I don't remember it being that again.
Well,
talking
so
about-
the thing is, on the first page, it says that the amount requested is 600, but when you get down to the actual project budget, it says 300. So I believe that the 600 is probably a typo, and she's just asking for 300,
Yeah,
which
'cause-
I believe that was the amount that she was asking
I'm
for,
looking at last year.
and
Actually, under I think it's
No,
oddly how she wrote it, but projected income, she wrote, please, $10 will be collected from each participant to contribute to the rent at 19 Carter. This will only cover approximately 180 of their $300 rent.
yeah, no, they
The
don't.
funding from the CC needs to cover the rest of the rent, plus the practitioner's fee of $300.
okay, so that's not a typo. Well, then the typo is the fact that the budget is listing 300 and not.
But everybody else, when the fees for 19 Carter were
It's
$100
yeah.
And last year, she asked for $550. This is
Oh,
last year.
right,
She
and
asked
we
for
only-
$550 and we gave her $4,
Okay.
which was her $300 fee plus the $100
Yeah, so,
fee for 19 Carter.
so I believe, if I recall correctly, that I had talked to Evie about that, and it was a case of, with some of the things that are offered, they offer the rental at a lower rate, and that this was one where they just hadn't done that. So, like, I think 19 Carter specifically tries to support something such as the adult improv and doesn't ask for as much of a fee, whereas I think that they've had programs with Gina outside of this and felt less need of offering a discounted for the rental fee for that, and I think I want to say that my rationale for last year of lowering how much we gave them was kind of, you know, we can't afford to fund you paying 19 Carter more than other people are, and so to work it out, I think was kind of my
Yeah, that's kind of a weird,
take
to
on.
me, to have her pay $300, whereas
Yeah.
other people are paying $100 for, it's not a long, it's not a long time that she's there, is it? It's not like she's spending the day.
Yeah. Well, if we are to fund this one, I can ask Evie for some clarification again as to what the rental fees are actually going to be.
Let's see, I feel like she sent us a note. Maybe it says how many people attended or gives us any information that makes us move in one direction than the other.
I mean, as far as it as a program, it is something different than what we normally get asked for, so it does have a certain appeal in terms of diversity of programming.
And she does say, if at least $420 is not funded, then we will have to charge more than $10 each. If the amount is fully funded, we'll be able to offer this event for free. This was last year's intent, but with the lower amount funded, we had to charge 10. I will also just say $10 for this experience is a bargain. You would pay at least twice that much somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I don't think paying $10 is
Yeah.
an outrageous thing to ask of somebody.
Yeah, well, I mean, usually, you know,
And I think anybody who came, who would sign up for this, would know that $10 is a huge bargain for this, so.
yeah. Well, I mean, generally, since at 19 Carter, if they aren't in with tickets anyways, generally there's a suggested donation of $5 or 10. So, I mean, I think there is some expectation that if you're going to 19 Carter for an event that, you know, whether you officially need to or not, you know,
You're gonna pay her.
yeah, or pay, somebody's gonna get paid.
Yeah, so I have all her program stuff here in the thank you note. So she had 16 people, and on her advertisement, it's limited to 16. So she only takes 16 people. I don't know if she says that in her application, but that's what she did last year.
Well,
And
we're at, I think, 18 people this time.
Okay. She, in her bill, or her invoice, it was $140 for the 19 Carter rental and $260 for her time and talent, for a total of $400,
Okay,
which is what we granted her last year,
yeah.
if that is helpful to anybody.
I could be swayed, but I also,
Seeing as we do have so many grants to give out and, you know, so many projects that people want to be granted for, I think it'd be best to just pay it in part and have the
Yeah,
people
I
pay
think
the $10 fee.
it's diverse.
Yeah.
It's different than what anything else that we're doing, or not us, but
Yeah,
putting money for, so.
yeah. Well, I imagine were we to approve this, I would also expect it would not be at the full amount. Like,
Mm.
my own notes, if we were to approve everything that I thought we should approve, or at least my thought, you know, when I'm looking at this before the meeting, that still comes up to like 8,857. So there's still, you know, if everyone went how I was thinking, we'd still be cutting out like
Right.
1,500 from things. But I mean, we typically, actually it might be a little bit more than that, because there's another one where the numbers were different. Anyways, that, you know, I think that still is in a realm of a doable amount. I think we usually are approving about that amount and then having to cut from there, or approving grants that, if it funded in full, would have been about that amount.
And at least she has put in the option that she would, if she didn't get fully funded, that she would look for $10 from people.
Yeah, and that'd probably be another case of where I would, you know, just mention to Abby, hey, we're not in the position to fund this at a level that works for that level of rent, but,
So we're saying yes, and then to be determined the amount.
yeah. Well, all of the amounts are
Yeah,
to be
all
determined.
to be determined. That's the next hard part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
the,
so
that's
I
the
move
harder
to-
part.
I move to fund the Reiki Sound Bowl at the at 19
I second it.
Alright. All in favor of,
Aye.
Aye.
alright.
Okay, so next is the Faith Paid Incorporated book donation, which is for a grand whopping total of $50. I've never seen a grant request that small.
Yeah, I was curious about them, very curious about this.
Yeah. Well, it kind of, to me, is kind of the vibe of we're donating books, but you're having to pay, so it's like, what is the cost of these books if you were selling, like, it seems like it could be kind of a clever way of selling your book.
Yeah, my first question on it when I read it was this something that was supported by Victoria. Does she know anything about this? Would they have,
I think that they contacted her, because I do recall it coming when we had fewer grants being, as grants were being put in, as every once in a while looking in Smart Simple to see where they were, and so earlier on when there are fewer of them, I seem to recall having, just been chatting with Victoria about this. But the only thing I see is they list the contacts of people at the library, which is out of date because it is listing the former youth services librarian, who I forget when she left her job, but it was before the grant season started, so they do not actually have, contact information that was up to date at the time they were doing this. And I'm all for the library having things, but the library also has a limited amount of space, so I don't know that unsolicited donations of particular items are going to actually be as useful to the library as being able to focus on the programming they want to have, that they're asking for money for, or as far as their materials for circulation. I imagine they're probably a little more interested in bringing in what they think is useful to the town versus books being donated.
yeah, I'm trying to go through this again. It's, we'll provide the library with a collection of our anti-bullying and geography books geared towards elementary and middle school age children and young adults. We will also provide a cancer memoir for adults in multiple languages. There's also say stuff about, online, what's it? Donation of books and online resources to the public library. So they give you a list of, where is it? They'll provide a link to their YouTube channel and offers educational videos, many video versions of their published books in different languages, and links to their nonprofit website. I don't know, we've never seen anything like this before, so it's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly the topics are useful, but I also imagine that the library is not like never considered the topic of bullying and now suddenly has materials, but like I have to imagine that if this were something that the library felt a book would be helpful to have around for, that the book probably exists already in.
Yeah, why can't Victoria be here and answer this question? Is if this is something that she looks at as a benefit to her, or is it something she really doesn't need?
Yeah, well, if I recall from whatever conversation I had, I think she was aware of it, but I don't recall any sense that had any strong opinion about it. I could be wrong. It's been a long year, but yeah, I just.
I think if it, for me personally, if it came from the library, if it came from Victoria or Hadley, I would say it was $50, like
Yeah.
why not? But I'm not sure that
Yeah.
the library, like you said, wants those books, or
Yeah.
needs those books, and or that this need, I mean, anti-bullying is obviously something that's important, but I think school-age children especially are getting that at school, or should be getting it at school, and in terms of connecting it with programming at the library, I'm not sure that this is a good
Yeah.
use for that.
MJ, do we still say in our statement that the grants need to have a local sponsor or support from a local sponsor? Because this is one way that it could absolutely be.
Yeah, I do believe
denied.
that is in the wording.
I know we've changed it around a few times, and I'm sorry to
Yeah.
not know the exact things that we.
Oh, I don't know
wrote.
the exact things either.
Because there's no letter of support or anything here.
Okay, I'm not seeing the full thing. Oh, here we go. Applicants that plan on holding a program in Berlin must already have a sponsored venue and performance date secured in order to be considered for a grant. So they're not exactly holding a program in Berlin, but
But there's no sponsor. We don't have a
yeah,
letter
yeah,
supporting this.
yeah. Well, again, they don't even know who the current youth librarian is, so,
Yeah.
so
I'm inclined to say no thank you to that.
would you be so inclined as to move?
I move that we decline this
Uh,
face paint funding.
I second that motion.
All in favor of declining?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that brings us to bookbinding for teens, which was another one that sounded really cool, but also sounded like it was a lot of money. So it's
For eight-
$600, but for eight
people, yeah, that's what I felt too.
I
It's-
also wondered if there would be even 8 people interested in bookbinding.
Yeah. That is a good question. I mean, I'd like to think that there are. I think that if 8 people went through it, 8 people would enjoy it, but whether 8 or find it useful would get something out of the experience, but whether those 8 people would manifest, I'm not sure.
I think it's
Speaking
great.
for somebody who works with teens, I'm not sure that
Somebody who was a teenager quite recently.
So have we hit 20 yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, so
Still
you are-
19. I mean, personally, and I am quite into books, I'm quite into reading, I'm quite into writing, I would not be interested in bookbinding. I personally, I don't think anyone I know or the neighbors of those people, specifically in Berlin, would be very interested in such thing.
Out of curiosity, as someone who reads a lot, are you someone who reads physical books, or are you on...
Physical books.
Okay.
Yeah. I prefer the hardcover books.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't like the flimsy or the Kindles.
Okay.
I think in the denial, we have to look at the fact that it's only going to serve 8 people
Yeah.
for $600, and the money can be spent better at other library programs.
Yeah.
And I think I'd feel the same way. See, this would interest me at my age now. I don't think it would interest a younger person, but that's making a
Yeah.
speculation on my part. But the fact that it's, I would do this with any program that had such a narrow scope in who would, 8 people, that's it, for $600.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Whereas these other programs, you know, I think the smallest one was the zombie one, right, for 15?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's twice as many people for less money, I think.
they do have a letter of support,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I still don't.
Yeah, well, I mean, this brings us back to like the previous question of whether, you know, we support all of the library programs. You know, I would like to, but there are a lot of them, and this doesn't feel like it. You know, it's, you know, core to what they're trying to do. It's, you know, something they'd like, and I mean, in an ideal world, it'd be not, you know, if there were enough money in funding for all of this, I would love to have this program exist, even if only 8 people did it, even if only 4 people did it. If the money was there, if you know, if you know, we, you know, we're getting, you know, money from some billionaire's foundation instead of the state, you know, I would love to support this. I mean, I you know, I'm not sure it would interest me when I was younger. I'm not sure it would interest me now directly. I don't know. I think even if I ever finish writing my novel, I would not be looking to have to find it myself. I think, you know, that would be something if I did, if like I, you know, wrote something that was as popular as Harry Potter and made a lot of money, and I could have a big fancy library in my mansion and have a physical bound copy of my own book, like that would be cool. But in that scenario, I no longer are going to have time to go to a library program to learn how to do it. I will be paying whatever kid goes to this program where. But,
So, all right, well, I'm gonna move that we say no to bookbinding.
I second that.
Alright, then all in favor of saying no?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
okay, which brings us now to Henry D. Juggler.
So it was hard, so I was just looking at the application, and in one spot, it's gonna be in June of 2025. And then where will their project take place? Either the public library or the elementary school. And it's set, so I can't, I'm trying to remember if he had a definite person that was local.
So he had a
And-
letter of support from Hadley, the youth librarian. That
He did, okay.
Yeah, I see it in his note too about it, being, they're either gonna do it at the library or at the school. The library is the event sponsor. The location depends on school scheduling. He's probably looking for a gym if he's gonna be
Mm.
teaching it.
Okay. It's a nice end of the school year event.
This was one that I had been leaning against, not for any great rationale, but just with the number of youth-oriented programs that I felt other things that were being sponsored by the library or Link were stronger cases for interest, but I'm not married to that opinion.
I had also given it a no. Mostly because I wasn't looking in the book, which I am now, but, so I wasn't seeing the full picture, but it didn't look like he had it enough together and that he has support from somebody, which he does. I agree, I think we're leaning heavily towards a lot of children's programming. But I could be swayed to say yes to this as well. I don't have a strong opinion, basically.
I personally find the fact that he's not really specifically going to a gym or a library kind of concerning, especially with a grant application, seeing as if he doesn't have enough space to use some of the equipment that he intends to purchase, then what's the point of giving him the money?
And just also sometime in June,
Yeah, he
Yeah.
said that
Gotta,
was because of
get-
scheduling with probably the end of the school year. And all
Yeah.
that, if they were gonna use the gym or I don't know where he'd do it at the library.
Yeah, probably outside in the children's garden, I would
Yeah.
imagine. Is
'Cause-
that what that's called? Anyways.
what happens if we say yes and then there is not a location? What would happen in a case like that?
Well,
He doesn't get paid.
yeah, I felt particularly that some of the other programming for children was superior in the sense that some of it, such as what the library itself was doing, I thought was going to be more engaging, not just you're watching a performance, but more personal involvement. Or in the case of the Link request for the theater trip, that I felt that, that's one where I think there'd be a longer impact. I mean, I still have vague memories of school trips to, theater in
Yeah.
middle school, whereas if I saw a juggler in 5th grade, don't think I would remember it. Like, I just, I'm sure it's pretty fun at the time, maybe, but I just don't feel it's gonna have the the quote-unquote bang for your buck
Mm.
that some of these other ones are gonna have, and we got asked for nearly twice as much money as we have to get out, and sometimes that makes for hard decisions, and that's why we're here.
So while you were talking, I went back to look at what kinds of things we've said yes to with the kids and tried, or for the kids, and comparing it as best I could to something that was, I don't know, involved movement or whatever. So his performance is just a performance. Whereas if we go back and we look at the guy doing the cooperative games and the storytelling, so you've got interaction with the kids.
Yeah.
So as I'm trying to justify in my mind, I'm saying of those two that we've funded that are specifically movement involved, which would I choose? I would choose the one where the kids were moving and not just the
A passive.
performer in
Yeah.
this case. Although I'd love to see it. I
Yeah.
love juggling. But it's more passive than the other things that the kids would be doing. So,
We're all thinking of denying them.
Mhm.
yeah, I'm giving a reason why I would consider,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I don't wanna interrupt.
No, you're not, you didn't interrupt me at all.
Alright.
So I'm agreeing with you. Cause it sounds, I wanna justify
Yeah,
according to the rules too.
yeah.
So I'm gonna move that we say no to this one.
I second that.
Alright, all in favor of denying this one?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And next, speaking of the link one for the Hansel and Gretel and Peter and the Wolf. And this one was also, the amount requested at the top.
Fly. It's on me.
Yeah, I've given up caring about that.
Okay.
We get enough flies at work that I'm just gonna have to accept that a fly has landed on the brownies. But yeah, so at top, the project information, it says the amount requested 1,000, but then when it comes down to the project budget, that's only coming to $838, so.
To 9:30, yeah, they gave a range, 8:38 to 9:38, but it's still
Not
less
enough.
than what they're asking for.
Yeah,
So, since we usually fund one school program, you could go either way on it. You could deny it, but I know we don't like to deny a school program. We always make sure that we fund one of the school programs. You just don't fund it for the $1,000, which we don't anyway,
Yeah.
usually.
well, I mean, it depends on how tight we are on the budget, but I mean, I would potentially want to ask for clarification as to why there is discrepancy, whether it was an error in one part or in judgment
An error in
or
judgment.
or if, what's going on there, but I mean, in theory, I would not likely to be inclined to support it for more than the 838 at maximum.
Yeah, usually it's about 800.
And-
The last couple of years, we've been funding their programs for around $800.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the problems too is like one of the years, like the request was twice as much because for COVID they had given the performance twice so they could have fewer people around. It's like, well, that's all well and good, but our budget didn't go up to be able to,
Yeah.
support that. But I mean, so this is one where Deborah and I had some communication on, because they reached out to ask whether a field trip, since it wouldn't involve the whole school, whether that would be, something that would be allowable. And so it does, fall, I think, within what we can allow. And I kind of, you know, on one hand, it'd be nice if we were funding a program that would be for the whole school, but at the same time, this is not the whole, Link doesn't exist just to do this one thing. They obviously are doing other things, so I don't feel really the need of, you know, trying to get in my crystal ball and seeing, okay, where the other grades get, you know, if this is what they're asking for, then, you know, this is what they feel of their various funding sources that they have is the right thing to ask for. And I do think bringing children to see an actual theater performance is very culturally valuable.
And it's 50 kids,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
So was that one grade at?
yeah.
I think it
Yes,
said
right now.
second grade, yeah. I think it said specifically for the second grade class.
Second grade? Really? Wow. I don't know if I'd want to take a second grade to isn't it a ballet?
Music and movement, I
I
don't know.
thought it was a ballet.
Music and dance. Yeah, through ballet and bring the storybook to the grand stage, yeah.
Yeah, well, think of it this way, if you brought older kids to a ballet, they'd be more likely to notice tight outfits and draw comments on it that younger kids are not gonna
Yeah, true.
likely be on their radar.
I think supporting this in some capacity is something I could get behind, especially because that's the only thing they've asked, that the school has asked for.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, we usually get one or two requests from them, and this is what they feel like
They
use
focus.
and
So I'm gonna move that we support this LINK program.
I second that.
All right. All in favor of supporting these stories?
Aye.
I.
Aye.
Okay. So next we have the Neshoba Symphonic Band. So that's one where we have a history where we were supporting it for a while and they didn't ask for the money that we granted them, and then money got tighter and we didn't support them last year. I think we were kind of on the fence about it, but we did actually have last year a letter of support from a Berlin resident who was part of that, was vouching for that. We do not, I've not received any communication about that this year, but I would presume if Berlin residents were involved before that they haven't suddenly stopped being involved, and they did actually ask for the money we granted them this year, as I
Yeah,
recall.
yeah, they
So-
submitted
So
the
we
paperwork.
have some better engagement with them, and I mean, it's not in Berlin itself, but Bolton is not too far away.
Pretty darn close. And there's how many concerts? There's like 6 concerts, I think. Just went through that.
Don't suppose this is anything you have any deeper knowledge on, Tracy?
2, 3, there's 4
No,
concerts.
I don't.
And we gave them we granted them $200 last year, so.
I don't know how rich.
Never gave anybody 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this would be one that if we do support, it is likely not going to be for the full amount since money is tight and it's not in Berlin itself, but I feel it is still local enough that it's not going to be a case of something that someone from Berlin is not going to attend because Neshoba is too far away. Like,
So the music ones we have so far, what we'll come to is, it'll be Willie Nelson, it'll be live music, making history. I don't remember what that one was.
what I remember about that one is
Oh.
both last year and this year they lacked a sponsor.
And I put in question mark, I don't understand this. Contact with sponsor in town. Okay, so there's that one.
I mean, we do have a lot
19
of
Carter.
music-oriented things.
Jazz. Yeah, but we don't have any kind of symphony stuff. We have jazz, we have the outdoor concerts, we have the live one that we didn't understand, and Willie Nelson. So it's, if we can support it to some extent, it does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and also, I mean, music is just something that is a higher percentage of grant requests than some
Yeah.
other forms of art, so.
And it does allow for generally a lot more people to attend.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll move that we support it in some way.
Okay.
I second that.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that brings us to more music. All That Jazz and 19 Carter Social Singing. So, hold on, let me scroll down to.
Shova, Northborough Area Community Chorus, that's
Yeah.
what it is, okay.
And so they're, I believe, going to have one event at Algonquin in Northborough and one at 19 Carter. And one of the people mentioned as being involved in this is or the people who run the open mic night at 19 Carter, which seems to be well appreciated both in terms of however they handle running it, but also their own music seems to be well received. So between someone who is involved in other music programming in town and it happening in part in town, it would seem to be something that we should support to some extent, at least.
Get a movement.
Okay, so they are asking for $1,000.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of money for 2 concerts.
Yeah.
It's just 2 concerts, right?
Yeah.
That they want supported.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily want to fund it to the extent being asked for, but
Right. So what they say that they will do is they'll cut expenses on concert production costs and consider other revenue streams, including membership dues, ticket prices, and off-season fundraising. When are the concerts?
So one is,
Spring and fall of 2025. Okay, so they
That-
have time to do fundraising.
yeah, and spring has a date, fall does not.
Do you see their breakdown of their budget?
I took a quick look at the total budget.
Yeah.
Stipends for the directors.
It's a lot. I could go either way.
And they have asked for money from Northborough, Southborough, Marlborough, Westborough, and Shrewsbury. So, I think regardless of what we do, their budget is going to be made or broken on some other town's decisions and not ours. So, again, is planning to occur in Burlington Park, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see being able to fund them anywhere close to what we're
Yeah.
asking for. We could support them in some way
Yeah.
if people in Berlin are involved, but
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't, hypothetically speaking, would not want to say fund it as highly as 19 Carter's, music series, which is more concerts and is solely Berlin, but I, think, especially since we've just agreed to, throw some money to Bolton, that not throwing some to something that is happening in part in Berlin. I think we can fund it to some degree.
I'm okay with that.
I move we say yes.
I second that.
And all in favor of supporting all that jazz?
Aye.
Aye.
And now we have 19 Carter's music series. We've supported that right along. It's multiple concerts. They're very well attended. They do charge, for tickets, but I mean, there's only, they only ask from Berlin and Bolton, so they're not drawing from huge, sources of surrounding towns or anything. We usually can't fund it to the full extent. There was one year when a bunch of things didn't happen because of COVID, and we had a low.
We spoiled a few people.
Yeah, one year we were able to give people more money than they asked for. So but generally, like, that's something where I think we've tended to, like, they ask for 1,000, we give them 700 or something. But I think, it is one of the most, standard cultural offerings we have in town in the past several years, and they bring in a wide variety of musicians. It's a popular thing, so I don't see any reason why we wouldn't continue to support it as our funds allow.
I agree.
I move that we fund the 19 Carter music series.
I second.
All in favor then?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have the outdoor sculpture You Are Here, and we did get an email about this recently. Let me see if I can pull that up. I'm looking at not the most recent ones. So I'm not going to read the whole of this email, but it was, I guess they had received some questions from different councils, so they sent like a group email, I guess, to like every cultural council, which was I've been feeling a lot of inquiries. First, most councils, including my own here, require that you secure a venue so that the grant does not get wasted, blah, blah, blah. So it's, detailing kind of what process they're going through to deal with the towns and to arrange things with the local communities. So I mean, in terms of so the project involves putting in local art stuff, and I guess some of the questions they'd been asked was, I think some councils thought that the onus was on them to figure that out, whereas if it's approved, the artist is the one who is gonna work with whatever local people, and they would ask for some input from, cultural council people, but, if approved, the work of figuring out the art is not gonna be, stuck on our doorstep. The whole project just seems very expensive and something that I don't think is really worth putting money towards.
Yeah,
I feel like was there something about this at one other time? Maybe with a different librarian over at the library, and I think however many years ago that was, they also concluded that this was not the type of thing that Berlin would be.
Well, that would,
Do you remember that? Does anyone remember
I
that?
don't-
that probably predates our time, so.
So the grant is basically, you would have to, in order to buy into this, I'm just asking questions now. You would have to be able to fully fund that $1,335, right? The artist, my first question was exactly what you had said, is like, do we have to be involved with this? But they're saying no, that the artist who is doing this project comes in and does
Yeah,
all
works
the
for-
work, talking to our local artists to
Yeah,
do whatever.
yeah, that's kind of the gist of the email, that our input would be welcomed and, but the actual work of nailing down what's happening is not something they're expecting us to have to do. But,
So it's basically you have to buy the little thing. It has
Yeah.
to be shipped to you. It has to be installed.
yeah, and there's also, it's something where if there's not enough money, it could be funded in 2 grant cycles, blah, 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 but again, it's, I mean, all things being equal, if every town in the state funded this, it might be cool for somebody, the people who like to go see everything of this or that might, but I just don't imagine this as the sort of thing that is going to really have any casual interest. It's something that you're either, I gotta see every one of these, and I think that's gonna be like a very few select people and not necessarily any one local, and I just don't,
And getting the buy-in from
yeah.
people in town for where to put it.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking.
I-
Who's gonna let
Look at the center of town
this
right now, the
with the
church
little
is half.
with the little
Yeah.
sorry, it's so ugly.
I get it. No.
Driving to town. Ooh, look at that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I just
no,
find
I
it
mean, yeah, we don't,
unappealing in this. I expect a lot of towns find it very, just even the little marker is.
yeah,
unappealing.
I don't think it is aesthetically appealing in general, and specifically where the town, our center of town, is a really old looking place. So actually something came up recently, so the town has like a $500,000 grant for doing improvements for like transportation stuff in the center of town, sidewalks.
The complete streets.
Yeah, so as part of that, they had a meeting a few weeks ago or something like that, where they invited some of the stakeholders, police chief, fire chief, my boss, because general store, I think got invited in part, between living and working in the area and being, but one of the things that came up in that, so I guess it's not directly related to that, but came up with that, is efforts to put in charging stations, and the Economic Development Committee thinks that it should be like across the street from the 1870 Town Hall, which, like everyone of us at that meeting, thought that was a bad location for a variety of reasons, one of which being a charging station next to our really old church and our really old, like, it just doesn't seem to vibe well, and just doesn't, you know, this would maybe be something you'd put out of school if the school wanted it, or you'd put it at the town office.
The residents were very vocal about not wanting that in the center of
I
town.
like that.
And
Yeah.
I feel like this could definitely be one of those things that could fall very flat.
Yeah.
I don't think this would work in our town at all.
Yeah.
So I move that we do not fund the You Are Here sculpture.
I second that motion.
Alright, well then, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The Artistic Pathways at the Virginia Thurston Healing Garden. So we gave them some money last year.
So to say, I remember this one.
I think, was last year the first year they'd asked for money, or second?
No, we've funded them at least 2, I think maybe 3 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was something that we weren't doing when I started, but that it's come up. I mean, I do believe, you know, it serves some people in Berlin.
Yeah. I think it's an important thing
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help with.
Yeah, not necessarily something we can fund at the full amount. Haven't we been giving them like about half?
300 or 2. One year, I think the year we had all the money, we funded them quite generously. This past year, I think it was 300. I know we got the thank you note from them,
Yeah.
which I filed somewhere already, but I could tell you in a second. It is,
Which I was gonna look at my file from last year. Should pull this up soon.
300.
Oh yeah, last year they asked for 1,000 and we gave them 300.
Yeah.
And this year they are asking for 500.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a worthwhile cause.
Yes, I
And
do
I know
too.
that there have to be people in Berlin who use it, and I can't imagine that there's any discussion about it, so I'm going to move that we fund the Healing Garden in Harvard.
I second it.
Alright, then all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So next we have the Live Music Making History Live. It has no sponsor.
I gave it a no, everything is to be determined, and there's no sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move
What
we
else is
reject
there to
this.
say?
I
I
said-
second that.
Alright, all in favor of quickly moving on?
At 9:39 in the evening
Okay.
with, yes.
Hey, MJ's just waking up.
Right, I know, the day's just starting for some of us.
Well, usually I didn't tend to take naps after work at my old job, but at my old job I was sitting all day, whereas with my bad leg, like standing a lot,
You do not have to justify napping. We're all
well, the point is, this isn't so much starting my day. This is
Preaching
my
to the
nap
choir
time.
here, honey.
But okay, so yeah,
Anyways.
so
All
so
in favor of not funding the Live Music Making History Live?
Aye,
Aye.
Theft of dignity.
which I also did not see a sponsor for.
Not requested in Berlin. Yeah, there was nothing. Nope.
Which one is theft of dignity? Bullying
Yeah.
program needs full funding.
It's another one where it's like, I hate to be saying no to things that are trying to be I mean, heck, at the candidate forum for the school committee candidates, I asked a question about bullying. But that being said, there is no sponsor, and even with a sponsor, I don't know, this didn't really strike me as the kind of program that would really going to succeed in.
Did
It was a
Didn't-
very heavy, yeah. I don't think it would work here.
Did they have any support on this one? I don't remember.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So it's not like the school, none of the schools
Yeah,
came
no,
and said, "We really love
this
to have
is
this."
someone, I think, shopping for, you know,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna point out the fact is like we have, I mean the amount of families that are actually in this town that actually send their kids to the school. It's created a small community with very little, if any, kind of disagreements between the kids. So I don't think there is any form of bullying here anyway.
well, there is in the high school. I'm afraid I do hear about that from, you know, children that I'm dealing with, but I don't think that this guy's presentation is going to,
And
And I think just by itself, the fact that he does not have a sponsor.
Yeah, oh yeah,
he's
that-
looking
that-
for
that
us
is-
To have it,
yeah,
if
reject.
the school was backing it, that would be
Yeah.
one thing, but they're
Agreed.
not. So
totally
I
agree.
don't
There has to
think-
be somebody that says, yeah, this is really what we need in
Yeah.
our school or our church or whatever.
And not just for the money's sake, but also for this guy's sake. That
Yeah.
no one's gonna come if there's
Yeah.
nobody supporting it.
yeah,
It's just gonna, yeah.
yeah.
Alright, I move that we do not fund, theft of dignity.
I second our lack of funding of that.
All right, all in favor of not funding the theft of dignity?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the Worcester Writers Collective writing events.
This is one I said no to, because they're asking you to support they're looking just for support money for their people in this program.
Well, I had down to support it for a couple of reasons. One, that one of the locations they were utilizing for their events was 19 Carter, so that,
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
and
Sorry.
I also felt that it's something kind of different than what we're, you know, we get a lot of things about, you know, music, you know, and, you know, other types of art, but writing in that sense is not something that really seems like it tends to get a lot of play in terms of grant requests. So I felt that this was a way of providing support to, you know, a different form of art than we normally are able to. I mean, we wouldn't have to necessarily support it to the full amount, but I you know, figured that it is something that, I mean, we do have people in town who write, you know. Just,
Right, I didn't realize there
written at
was
least one book.
Berlin involved here. I thought it was all,
The WWC serves members from cities and towns across Worcester County. We have held multiple readings and showcases throughout 2024 and have collaborations planned with organizations including Arts Worcester, the Blackstone Valley
Oh, yeah, I
Heritage
see it
Corridor,
now.
Berlin's 19. So I suppose it doesn't directly say that they're going to be at 19 Carter, but I presume that a collaboration would have to mean that.
yeah, cause the way I read it was maybe closer to the last sentence, that funding goes towards their events, paying for speakers, compensating writers, and help for local rentals, because I guess I understood that they had places that they actually rented where they
Yeah.
collaborated. So to me it didn't seem like it was supporting people in our town, but if they're doing events in Berlin, that's a whole different story, and I missed that.
I
No.
kinda missed that too, and I felt like it was more about compensation. I don't know, it didn't strike me right, it didn't sit right with me.
Yeah, that was,
Well, I mean, as far as the budget, it just is operational support for events and authors throughout the year, so it's not really itemized, but
And does it have it doesn't have anybody backing it from Berlin, correct?
let's see.
So, I mean, there's no letter of support, but,
And it's
I
not
do-
a specific event that it's asking us to support, it's saying if it's not gonna go to their compensation. I don't know, it was too vague for me, there wasn't a specific.
Yeah, 'cause they were talking about, it's free to the people who come to it's set a weekly meeting.
okay. Now I'm looking at another spot. While no explicit collaborations are planned as part of this grant request, the potential for partnerships with these groups or other local initiatives, 19 Carter Club, that may occur. So, yeah, so there is no specific planned thing here. So, yeah, I mean, your arguments in terms of the lack of, you know, specificity or support are valid. So, I mean, I would not be upset with us voting against it based on those grounds.
Yeah, and it says it's housed in the Jean McDonough Arts Center in Worcester.
I think there are other organizations that I think fit better with how we would spend our money.
That's fair.
But I could also be swayed if there's strong opinions about it.
I think it's honestly best we sit on this one, especially seeing as they don't have an official collaboration with Berlin. And we have been, I believe it is best to stick with Berlin when we have the best options for it.
I agree.
And here's another, and I agree what you say too, here's another little thing that's funky. It says, the WWC firmly believes that artists should be paid for their work. To that end, we're pursuing a number of grants, both from Blackstone Valley area local cultural councils.
Mm.
So, am I reading that correctly, that it sounds like they're trying to pull in money also to help fund artists for their work?
Yes, yes.
So
that's what I
that's
read.
an automatic no, we're not, I don't think that,
Because we're not allowed to give them payments directly,
yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, we could give them payments for their work, but they're asking to take the money and then they determine.
They give it, yeah, I don't like it at
Yeah,
all.
they can't do that, so.
So it's almost like a prize.
They don't really say how
Yeah.
they're going to do it, they just say that they're,
Yeah, that did lack a certain specificity that.
yeah. To provide some sort of compensation for the BHVC collaboration.
Some
And to
kind
pay somebody to be a grant writer. Anyway.
Maybe that's even
Well, if they're
more-
paying people to be grant writers, can they pay people to be grant readers?
Alright, so I'm gonna move that we say no to this one.
I
There's
second
a
that.
few funky parts to it. I agree, supporting writers and making things available for people who want to write and learn about writing, but I don't think this is the way.
Well, all in favor then, of not, funding it?
Aye.
Aye.
Our last one, Willie Nelson.
Well, we also have the one, we're
Yeah, we
going
have
back
to
to
go
the
back to,
the improv.
yeah.
Yeah,
But,
yes.
okay, so, we funded Matt York's programs a couple of times. He did one on the Highwaymen in general and did a Johnny Cash one, which I guess was well received. We did not fund the request of the Willie Nelson one last year because we've been funding him a couple of years and we only have so much money and we're trying to go for more variety, and that's kind of, I was disappointed. I would have liked to have just seen us get through all the Highwaymen, you know, but, you know, have a complete set, but I kind of feel having rejected this before and take another at bat at the same thing, that are we going to just keep getting this request for I don't know, I just felt that we had some, broader programs, some more diverse offerings compared to what we've had in the past, that I just felt that unfortunately this is probably one of the places that we need to pull potential money from and not support, but I'm not married to that opinion.
Well, I think that I don't fault him for trying to get the last of the highwaymen through.
Well, this
to
is
the
only the
town.
second. We still have, what is
Oh, we
it,
have
Chris
two more.
Christopherson and, I don't,
So, I won't fault him for that, but I
Yeah.
agree that, again, we have to look at what we've got.
I don't have an opinion on him because I didn't go to any of the other ones. I didn't know how well they were received. So I can be swayed either direction. We do have a lot of other performers and musics
yeah.
that we have decided to fund, so I'm fine with saying no. He's 91 though, God love him. Did you see that? He's 91 years old.
Yeah,
Really?
Mm-hmm.
probably in better health
So
than I am.
this could be it. This could be the last time.
Might wanna get Willie before it's too late, huh?
But it's not getting, since
Holy
it's someone else
moly.
performing his stuff, you can still do that after it's gone.
My God.
Well, then I
God
move
willing.
that we reject this particular grant request.
I second that.
Alright, and all in favor of rejecting Mr. Willie Nelson?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm feeling bad about the 91-year-old
He's
man.
91, the poor guy.
Well, I mean, it
We're doing him a
could be
favor.
worse. What kind of world are we leaving for Jimmy Carter? We just, God love him, he's 100, and I'm thinking probably not happy he's stuck around for current
I am
events.
so surprised the man is still alive. I thought
Yeah,
so soon after his wife's death. that he
yeah,
would-
oh yeah, that is
They
a
were such
surprise.
a lovely couple, so devoted to one another.
But it is good information for people to know that hospice care is not actually means you're necessarily just gonna drop dead. I mean, he's been in hospice for over a year.
At least.
Yeah, I think it's been
Yeah.
like about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm getting tangential. So
Alright.
we passed over the adult improv.
Oh, yes, we're not done yet, are we? Oh, well, I'm feeling better that we said no to some.
So I have down in my figures, if we fully funded everything we have supported so far, including this one, though I did have down link at 838 instead of 1,000, but that puts the total of that all at $8,607. So if we funded this, we're still shaving off like $1,500 off of everything, but there are also a number of ones that, while we're inclined to support, we aren't necessarily inclined to support them at, say, the 1,000 they're asking for. So I think we do have the room to play with this one if we want to, but we have supported it a number of times. It is fairly different than the other things, but I don't think the workshops involve a lot of people, so if we don't support it, we're gonna have an easier time not cutting from other stuff, but I had it in my yes column, but I can go either way.
Yeah, I wish I knew more about how many people she was drawing and if she also, she must provide this in other local areas, that if this year we feel we should give it a rest and say no, the people would more than likely be able to find her somewhere locally. I don't
Or
know,
take
I'm-
up
I'm
other
really-
hobbies and.
Yeah, well, I'm torn on it, cause I know that we've supported her for a lot of years, I just don't know how many people are
Yeah,
involved
I don't think
in the
a lot are
program.
involved necessarily in the workshops themselves. I think more come to like the performances they do and such, but.
But it's still a whole lot of people, you know, experiencing the performance, right?
Yeah, but I think that's kind of a separate thing, is it? Hold on, let's,
Yes, she does, it's,
oh yeah. I suppose it's good that we came back to this one at the end, cause it's still a, you know, bit of a Sophie's choice. Here we are.
If we don't, if we say no after we've said yes, is there a compelling reason to, right, if we have to give a reason for saying no, like what would the reason
I think if it's something that, I don't think we're obligated to keep, funding the same program year after year after year.
Yeah, I think one
be? I
of.
just wondered what you would say, you know, the other ones you talked about, we have to
Yeah.
have a the
Yeah, and I'm
reason.
trying to remember all
I
of those
think it-
things.
Yeah.
I think it's something to the effect of, you know, that there are other, you know, things that we,
Like our limited funding, we decide to go elsewhere.
yeah, that we have, you know, more dynamic offerings out of other programs or something to that effect.
There's one about not, God, I can't remember the wording on it, that it's not, there's not enough, like we denied the one for the, bookbinding.
Yep.
Because it was only serving a small number of people, so if we
Mhm.
have a pretty good idea that it's only serving a small number of people,
Okay.
that's not totally a reason for rejection, because if you think
Yeah.
it's worthwhile, which I think it's a worthwhile
Yeah,
program, it's just that we've been supporting this one
Yeah.
small
yeah, so it,
program for so many years.
so the number of participants is predicted at 50, but I think that's divided into the different workshops, so I think in theory, it may be, you know, 6 workshops of like 9 people, but maybe those are the same people, so.
I think if I've seen it when I've been walking by with the dog, it's a handful of people, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't see a problem with giving it a rest for a year, and then
Yeah,
she'll apply again
Yeah.
next year.
Mhm. I'm comfortable with that.
She's a very nice lady, I don't
Yeah.
want,
yeah,
you know, anybody to think this is
Yeah,
personal
no.
in any way.
Well, I
Or
mean-
for her to think it's personal, you know?
It's financial, it's all financial.
yeah, well, I mean, if we didn't have to make tough decisions, then we wouldn't need to be here, someone would just, you know, be filling out a form in an office and, but we exist to make these tough decisions.
Alright. I move that we, do not fund the improv workshop this year.
Seconded.
Alright, then, all in favor of not giving the grant to them? Yeah,
Aye.
forgot the wording there.
Got you, we know what you're.
Okay, so that completes that, so, yeah, so depending on whether we judge Link at 838 or 1,000, then we either have a total request request amount that we've approved is either $8,007 if we had all the money to give them all, or it would be, if that thousand would be 8,169. So either way, we have less than $1,000 that we need to cut at our next meeting, which is a fairly good position to be in, all things being considered, since we started tonight having to cut about $7,000
Yeah,
out
that's
of
good.
what we were.
We
Yeah,
did
we're
good.
pretty good at this.
So I think, yes, so the only other item on the agenda is scheduling our next meeting. So we need to allow at least 2 weeks from when we do the rejections, which I have to figure out why I wasn't able to do it when I was trying to do it, to pull up that stuff. But if everyone's comfortable with it, I will just send out rejections, since
So if
you and I are the ones who
Right,
used to
so
fight
if
into
you-
it.
Yeah, because it just, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just, you just log them in
Yeah.
to the thing. So if you and they, are
Yeah.
it's the cultural council that sends out the email that
Yeah.
they've been rejected.
Yeah,
So, we don't have to write those letters.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you have any trouble with it, let me know,
yeah,
and I'll take care of it.
yeah. Well, I'll try to play with that at some point in the next few days if everyone's good with that. So, but so it would have to be at least 2 weeks after that point. But I think, realistically speaking, we definitely want to be past Thanksgiving and probably deal with this.
The very beginning of December, can we do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Because it gets really crazy, I think, for everybody around as we get closer to holidays. And I have my
yeah. Are you going down to Carolinas? or-
Thanksgiving, yeah, my kids are coming up, we've got a big family wedding, so they're coming up for a period of time. But it's that first week, that early, like, first week in December would be fine for me. I don't know about anybody else, but we'll be back by then, and my kids will not have gotten here yet, so.
Okay, so in theory, do we want to shoot for 7:30 p.m. on December the 5th, which is Thursday?
That would work for me.
I'm pretty sure that's good for me.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, so December 5th,
and I'll take care of putting it in
I
the
appreciate that.
system, since I've got to log in and.
7:30, okay. Yeah, so just let me know if you have any trouble with that.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to do that if
Okay.
need be.
Yeah. Okay, so that takes care of that, so. I move that we adjourn the meeting,
I second that.
Okay,
and that is non-debatable,
Next meeting, we
but we
hand
still
out
need
the
to
money.
vote.
So, all in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.